Welcome to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Week 7 of the NFL season is upon us. We are getting towards the halfway marker and we're celebrating episode 43 with a few more winners from last week. Myself, Luke Gelder, as always, alongside my favourite staff member of the Green Bay Packers, Tom Collins.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I do like this polo. You keep seeming to think it's green. It's definitely grey, guys. The only reason I like it is because it's not green. In the most normal way of saying this, green doesn't work with me. So this is the only Green Bay stuff I like. This and the hoodie that you've probably seen about 6 times. What a week 6 was. Wasn't as good as week 5 for winners, but we still had 7 winners across Thursday and Sunday between us out of 11 selections. If you play it to level stakes, we'll talk about staking in a second because we've got a question from a watcher. But if you played it to level stakes, more profit.
From a watcher?
Yeah, watcher. Viewer. Watcher.
There we go. For a watcher.
Come on.
And also, comments, right? That looks green.
It's definitely grey. I mean,
it looks green, though.
This bit's green. Definitely grey.
That looks grey. We went 5 out of 8 last Sunday and 2 out of 3 last Thursday. The 5 out of 8, Tom, I'll take, to be honest, because the London game left us against the ropes. Whenever I think of week 6, I've kind of got the Great Escape music in the back of my head. But we managed to get a winner in the 6 o'clock kickoffs. We managed to both land a winner in the 9 o'clock kickoffs. And then in Sunday Night Football, we were both victorious once again. We were scrambling, but winner's a winner.
Yeah, the thing is, firstly, the London game was just not a very good game for punting. It's the same this week. So in our Sunday NFL podcast, when we get to the London game, I don't know if you'll have a selection. I do have one, but it's just tentative. It's just not an appealing game, really. But as it's a London game, we have to tip in it. Christian Kirk didn't fire for me. Travis Etienne, the less said about him, the better, I think. And you'll probably agree with me from that.
Travis Etienne has caught Devontae Adams' hamstring, where they're like, oh, he's got a bad hamstring. No, he's not. Doug Peterson, you just hate him. Doug Peterson, honestly, you're not going to be here for much longer. You're doing the same thing that Doug Peterson always does. Starts off amazingly with a team, and then he just does nothing to change it. Travis Etienne is your best running back, and you're like, no.
Yeah. They played Dearness Johnson instead.
Yeah, because Tank Bigsby threw the ball on the floor.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Every NFL player knows, don't fumble the ball. Sometimes it just happens. Don't put them on the bench. It hurts your team. That's why you sucked.
Yeah. To be honest, I think if the Jacksonville Jaguars lose this Sunday, Doug's gone. And one more thing, the only other loser on Sunday was Josh Jacobs' rushing yards. And he got 62 when we needed 70. Look, I didn't want to wear this jersey just because of Josh Jacobs ruining us on Sunday. And we were super unlucky as well. In that final drive, the Packers rushed the ball for 40 plus yards and Jacobs wasn't used because they were up so big. So frustrating, but we also had a good week. And I don't think you can't criticize when you have good weeks. Just move on. Hopefully next week will be even better.
Yeah, profit is profit. We've got the Amon-Ra St. Brown anytime, Chase Brown anytime, Jahmyr Gibbs hit the overs, Tank Dell hit the overs as well, and the Bengals managed to win minus 3.5. They covered the spread. I think the one reason that Doug Peterson wasn't fired this week is because they're in London again.
Agreed.
And they're playing over. However, I don't know if you saw this. Jacksonville traded someone to Seattle.
I did see that. It was a D lineman, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got Roy Robertson Harris to Seattle. Imagine that, just being in London, and then it's like you got to fly 10 hours. You don't even get to go home. You got to fly to Seattle to get ready for Atlanta this weekend.
That's rough.
What a horrible trade.
That is really rough. He's probably thinking, "Oh, we've got a lovely week. You can go see Big Ben. You can go do other things in London." But nope, you're off. See ya.
No, get to Seattle. We don't want you anymore. It's mad. But Roy Robertson Harris, welcome to the Seattle Seahawks. We do have a question before we get into the Thursday Night Football preview. This is from Scott Crowley. Scott.
I'd say Crowley.
Yeah. Scott. There you go. Cheers, Scott. He left a comment on YouTube. If you do have any questions, by the way, leave a comment on YouTube. We'll get back to them the week after on the podcast, or leave them on our socials. On Twitter, we are at Turf Touchdown. Says, how do you both bet each selection? Do you just do each as a single and then some multis? Interested to know, as I always struggle to balance it out on a Sunday. Thanks in advance. I would normally sit there and I'd try and get my best selections, because out of the 5 that maybe you put up, naturally you're going to fancy 2 or 3 more than you do the other 2. I would put those together in a multiple, the rest probably in singles on that front, but I would try and get the ones that I feel best about, and I would try and put them together in a multiple, which, to be fair, I can be better with saying that on the podcast on what ones I like, but obviously the play of the day is the main one, which we're doing okay on that part. But that's my way of attacking it, Tom.
Yeah, I'm slightly different. I just play singles on the actual selections, usually because I just want to get those early lines. We filmed this today. We're filming it on a Tuesday for Thursday night, but usually for the Sunday fixtures, we film on a Thursday. The lines can shift dramatically. So I know obviously you guys may not see it until the Friday, but I would still suggest kind of getting on early because the lines definitely move. I play singles across the selections. I do also do like a team ACCA, just a personal thing that was not put on the podcast on a Sunday, but that's kind of what I do. I like to have that multiple aside that's not really put on. It's just short price favorites generally in the easy games. And then my main selections, which you guys will see in the podcast as singles.
Yeah, the team bets that Tom does is muggy.
Yeah. Well, you got to. You got it. It's a lovely sport to watch on Red Zone. Like, you want to have an interest in all games. So, I do it on the side.
Yeah, fair enough. But Scott, hopefully that answers your question. As I say, I'll try and be more clear on my side going forward with ones that we do like. But you know what we don't like, Tom?
I do. Go on.
The Denver Broncos versus the New Orleans Saints on prime time.
Yeah. Tough. This is tough.
The Broncos are favourites on the road, -1.5. The over-under is a whopping 37, and the Broncos are favourite money line, obviously, at 4-5. The main reason that the Broncos are favourite, Tom, is because Spencer Rattler is once again starting for the New Orleans Saints. Oh boy, this is going to be a tough watch.
Yeah, the Broncos opened 1.5 point favourites. Then on Monday night, the Saints went 1 point favourites. It was a big shift. And now the Broncos are back to 1.5 point favourites again. It looked like the traders thought maybe Olave will play. And now Olave is probably not going to play, so they shifted back to the original line. But as you say, the Broncos are favourite on the roads. Bo Nix v Spencer Rattler. I mean, it's not the most enticing of battles. Two teams where they've been a bit up and down this year. The Broncos' defense is the best unit that we'll see on Thursday Night Football. It's better than their offense. It's better than New Orleans Saints' offense and their defense. So that's maybe why the Broncos are favourites. I would be stupid in suggesting a team that I thought would win, whether it be money line against the spread or the over-under. I generally just don't know what's going to happen here. New Orleans have fewer offensive weapons than Denver, but Denver's offensive weapons generally aren't very good.
Yeah, I mean, Denver's defensive weapons are also partly missing. Patrick Surtain is likely going to miss this contest. He suffered a concussion last week, and he did not practice on Monday. I doubt we'll be seeing Patrick Surtain in this. But on the other side, we're not going to see Chris Olave either, because he's likely going to be out in this spot. So two big omissions from either side of the ball for both Denver and also New Orleans. Spencer Rattler, he didn't look too bad on his full NFL debut. One thing I will say, you mentioned this point to me the other day regarding New Orleans. They scored all their points last week, 27 of them in the same quarter. Wasn't necessarily all the offense either.
No, I don't know what happened. It was such a weird game against the Bucks. The Bucks went 17-0 up in the first quarter. Then New Orleans suddenly in the second quarter exploded with 27 points. They went into halftime in the lead. In the second half, they scored nothing. Not a single point. Spencer Rattler was good, but he wasn't great if you threw a couple of picks. But Baker Mayfield really picked up in the second half. They're an interesting team, the Saints, because we've seen them this year produce amazing displays, most notably against the Cowboys, where I think they put up 44 points and smashed them. But we've also seen them be shocking on defense and concede a 50-burger to Tampa the other day. So they're a difficult team to assess, and Spencer's only going to get better. Maybe he'll be their starting QB long-term, depending on when Derek Carr comes back and how Spencer Rattler does. But yeah, it's a tough team to assess. What I will say, the biggest talking point about this matchup is that Sean Payton returns to face his old team.
I wonder how he'll be received.
Not very well.
Yeah. We'll see. He's an interesting chap anyway. That's longer than I thought we were going to talk about this game for, but let's do our bets in this spot. I'll go first. I'm going to take a player that I don't love, but I love watching. I think he's new Jameis Winston and Bo Nix, who he's been better, to be fair, than I thought he was going to be this year. I thought he was going to be just awful. I didn't think he was going to be ready to start first up. To be fair, he should be, because he's like 50 years old. He spent loads of time in college. But the Saints do allow the quarterbacks that they play against to run on them. Bo Nix's rushing line is 24.5. That's 10 to 11. I quite like 24.5. I think he can go over that. So far, they played against Jalen Hurts. They allowed 8 rushes for 25 yards. Patrick Mahomes, 6 rushes for 22 yards. Baker Mayfield last week, 3 rushes for 29 yards, where Baker's been weirdly mobile this season. Bo Nix, so far this year, has played in 6 games. In 4 of those 6 games, he's got 25 or more rushing yards. In 3 of them, he's got 35 or more rushing yards. He's been using his legs a lot. Last week, he had 61 yards rushing, did Bo Nix. You would like to think he's going to be used once again in that sort of department. He's not had any fewer than 4 rushes in any game this year. He's only had 4 in one of them. The rest of them, it's been 5 or above. And the New Orleans defense is not great. We saw that last week. They're middle of the pack. They average 3 sacks at home. They can get a bit of pressure on Bo Nix, and he can take off. I was tempted to put up a Bo Nix touchdown as well. That's 5-2, which is a little bit bigger than I thought. He's scored a touchdown himself in half of the games so far this year. If you're looking for something a bit more exotic, I wouldn't put you away from that. But I like the 24.5 rushing yards from Bo Nix, and I'm looking forward to cheering Bo Nix on. He seems like an easy guy to cheer for.
Maybe I can convert you. I am.
No. No, Did you see the interview after he had the argument with Sean Payton on the sidelines?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
The reporter goes, "Oh, what were you and Sean Payton?" And they were like going at each other, like proper going at each other. Oh, what were you guys talking about? And he goes, coach just called me over and said, I love you. And I said, I love you too back. It's like, I like this guy. This guy gets it. He's good. I like him.
Yeah, I like watching Bo Nix. I actually think he's better than most people give him credit for, to be honest. This offense just isn't great. But it's a very un-Luke-like selection, that. I think that might be the first time this year you've put up a QB rushing yards over-under.
I think it's the first I put up anything QB.
It might be, yeah. It might be.
I don't think I've put anything up QB. But yeah, honestly, it was a struggle to find anything that I liked in this race. And then I saw Bo Nix, and it came to me like a shining beacon. And I was like, there's my guy. There's my guy. Over 24.5. Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. And to be honest, I was kind of scrounging around for a player prop as well. I've only got one selection in this matchup as well. Look, people are going to be drawn to Alvin Kamara, aren't they? He's the biggest talking point in the New Orleans Saints offense. He's better than any player in the offense of the Denver Broncos. And I wouldn't put anyone off looking at the lines for Alvin Kamara. However, the Broncos D is good. They're going to be focusing on Kamara now that Olave's out. They're going to let Spencer Rattler beat them. They're going to allow man-to-man coverage probably on the outside and, hope that Spencer throws a few picks. And I think he probably will against this defense. So I don't know about Kamara. He's going to get his touches, but will the Denver Broncos allow him to make up a lot of yards? Probably not. So therefore, I want to look away from him. I was trying to look for Troy Franklin, to be honest. The Denver wide receiver who used to play for Oregon, first year in the league. He's got a great connection with Bo Nix, obviously from their college days. But the line's just not available. There are no lines for receiving yards for Troy Franklin, so I couldn't find anything there. If nearer the time there are lines that come out, have a look at Troy Franklin. I think he'll get a fair few catches in this matchup, maybe even a touchdown. That line is out, but I didn't want to put that out without the receiving yards line. So instead, I'm siding with another rookie. And it's a guy in Devon Vele, who, to be honest, I knew very little about. I saw him in college a couple of times, but he wasn't really shown in primetime TV or even in highlights. He's a big dude, 6'4". He's a rookie, but he is 26 years old, so it's not like he's got pure youth and inexperience on his side. He's an old guy, much like Bo Nix, for a rookie. He's only played in 2 NFL games so far. In his debut, which came right at the start of the season, he caught 8 balls for 8 targets. For an incredible 39 yards, didn't go very far, but he caught every single target. Then he had 4 weeks off due to a rib injury and the fact that he was a coach decisions inactive, which is the most Sean Payton thing I've ever seen in my life. He caught 8 balls, and then the coach says, no, we don't want you in the team anymore. And then he came back last week where he had 4 catches off 6 targets for 78 yards. He made some big plays, and that's what Denver Broncos need. They have Courtland Sutton, who is a great wide receiver on occasion, but he can get lost in games. You throw him a jump ball, he will catch it, but sometimes he can't get that space. He can't get open from his DBs, and that presents a problem. So Devon Vele is a good addition to this offense. He will play this week. Hopefully he'll get the same kind of target share because his over-under on receiving yards is 29.5. If he gets 6 targets, like the minimum he's done so far in 2 games this year, he is smashing that line. The issue is, with Devon Vele. By the time you're watching this, the line's probably gone up, because when I saw it on Monday and I wrote down my selection, it was 23.5. Then last night it changed to 24.5, and now it's 29.5 receiving yards. I'm going to put up over, but I'll say if it gets to 35.5 or higher, then think about it. That kind of gets to the range of, I'm not too sure about this line. But right now, my own selection on Thursday Night Football this week is Devon Vele over 29.5 receiving yards.
He's quite a big price to get a touchdown as well. But I'm just looking at both him and Troy Franklin, because Troy Franklin did interest me. He had a touchdown last week, and he also had he should have had a touchdown the week before, honestly. It was a very well thrown ball by Bo Nix, and he just whiffed on it. It was a diving catch, but Troy Franklin's 5-1 for any time touchdown. It's a sort of game where you go through and think, oh, Bo Nix can get one 5-2. Javonte Williams, yeah, he's going to get plenty. There are some attractive prices about, but honestly, you're probably only going to need 1 or 2 touchdown scorers, because that's all there's probably going to be in the game.
Yeah, and last point on these wide receivers and why the anytime touchdown market may be interesting, but more so the receiving line, and why I wanted to go for a Denver receiver, is the fact that New Orleans Saints are giving up the most total yards on defense per game in the NFL this year. They're also the 4th worst in terms of passing yards allowed in the NFL this year. So, albeit the Denver offense isn't the most explosive or the best, I think these receivers are going to be able to get a fair few catches, and that Vele overs looks pretty strong to me.
My bet for Thursday Night Football between the Denver Broncos travelling to the New Orleans Saints is Bo Nix over 24.5 rushing yards. That's at 10-11. Tom, remind us yours.
Devon Vele over 29.5 receiving yards. That is also 10-11.
Perfect. They're the 2 plays for Thursday Night Football. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment of who you like down below as well. We might have hit by this point 900 views on our last video, which is absolutely fantastic. It's great to see Turf and Touchdowns growing. Thank you everyone for your support as well. Tell all your friends. They're the people that we want to come and watch it. We want to build a lovely NFL and horse racing community where we land a few winners set together. But if you click subscribe down below, you'll be updated on everything that we do, including a horse racing video and another NFL video this week. We are off to record the horse racing video right now. Until we next speak to you, stay safe, look after one another. Goodbye.